Hey, Education 1010 students. Today we're going to go over learning theories, which I'm really excited about. This is one of my favorite topics, but it's such a big topic that we have a whole course for it at 20 or 2000, 2200, something like that. Anyhow, there's a class called Educational Psychology, and it gets into all these learning theories. But as a teacher, and especially as a teacher who wants to be a better teacher, these really, really matter to me because the more I can understand about how students learn, the better I can teach. And it's amazing, even now, I continue to read articles and books about how students learn, and I continue to implement things into my own practice. And then I'll find things like, oh, a lot of the things that I've done work really well in face to face, but they don't work so well in online. And why is that? And what accounts for that? So we're going to go over four of the main theories today. But before we do that, if you are in my face to face classroom and you miss class, you should head to the discussion board and do the movie night discussion board. If you're in my online section, you should also go over to the discussion board and do the movie night. Now I have the instructions here for what you will do. So in the face-to-face, I had the students had to go talk to each other and find out what their perfect movie night would be. For you guys that aren't in face-to-face, what you'll do is you'll simply comment in the discussion board. So if you go down to the week 6 module into the file section, there's one that's called movie night. So you just answer the questions that are, if it's your favorite movie night, what would you watch? What would you have for dinner? And what would you have for snacks? So pretty simple. But this is something that will help us get to know each other a little bit better. Then once you've posted that for yourself, read 3 or 4 posts of other people in our class so you can kind of see what their interests are and what they're doing. I'll go ahead and hop in there. I haven't done that yet, but I'll hop in and post mine. So once you've done that, then you need to read the Paget article. It's just a short 3-pager called Learning Theories. And it's actually not called Learning Theories. It's called like Learning Theories. What are the 4 main theories or something like that? Anyhow, that will be linked in the module as well. So read that. And then I've created a Canvas quiz that will walk you through answering those questions. Now, I'm going to actually do an overview of those different learning theories now. So you can read the article first and then continue watching this video, or you can get my overview, but then you'll still need to go through and read the article to get additional details. So this lecture is meant to complement what you read in that article. So you can pause it now if you want. Your step 2 is after you've read, let's see. Oh, this is what I was just talking about. So in class, we read it together and then went through it. And we actually quizzed each other on what are the different theories and who are the theorists associated with each one. For you online learners, again, you should watch the lecture. That's what I'm talking right now. So you're doing that. Good job. See how I'm losing myself in the slides. Because I wouldn't use that for my face-to-face. But for you guys online, just keep watching this video. And then you're going to need to spend some time in the discussion board. You're going to answer the 5 questions about what is behaviorism and which theorist is associated with that, and go on through for the 4. But when you finish, you should review those because this is something you need to be familiar with. Not only is it going to come up again in 2200, but this is something that you'll be tested on if you want to become a teacher. It's important to understand kind of the history of learning and educational theory, but also these are really significant when it comes to being an effective teacher. So you do need to be familiar with them. Let's go through the 4 theories together right now. So first, we're going to look at behaviorism. This is the idea that, well, there's really 2 big ideas in behaviorism. One is that if we reward good behavior or punish bad behavior, we're more likely to get more of the positive behaviors. This grew out of some of the experiments that Pavlov did with his dog and with other things. B.F. Skinner is the theorist associated with this. He was an educational researcher, but he did, as you see on this slide here, he created a lot of these rat mazes where if the rat solved the maze, they were rewarded with a pellet, and if they didn't, they were shot. And he did other experiments, even with humans, where he'd put them in the Skinner cage. He experimented on his daughter. It was kind of scary. Obviously, most of those things would be illegal today and not acceptable, but he was experimenting. He was a psychologist that wanted to understand how we learn and how we respond or how we adapt our behavior based on our environment. So one of the things that took off from this behaviorist theory is the idea that if we recite things and we memorize things, it's going to be put into our memory, and we're going to memorize things better if we're rewarded. So if there's a consequence for memorizing it, for example, if I gave a quiz, you're more likely to study. If you don't have a quiz, you're less likely to study, but that quiz is the reward. It might also be a punishment. A lot of people have negative associations with quiz and tests because they'll either get a positive reward or a negative consequence depending on their performance on that test. And that might come in the form of grades. It might come in the form of how your parents react. But in behaviorism, rewards and punishments are really important. Let's go ahead and move on to cognitivism. This is the idea that our brains are developing. So if we want to associate the word cognitive with brain, we can make that association, and we can even memorize it through, that's a behaviorist model of learning. But if we memorize that cognitivism has to do with the processes in your brain, and that we can have our own intrinsic rewards, that we can learn just for the sake of learning, and we should be curious, and the idea of discovery learning comes out of this, that we can explore and try different creative things. Intrinsic motivation becomes really important in cognitivism because the reward for learning things is often that it makes us better and it makes us feel better and we're smarter. And so that's the reward in and of itself. We don't have to get a grade, we don't necessarily, or we don't have to get, $5 from our parents for doing well. We're learning for the sake of learning. Now, Piaget is the theorist associated with this, and he did a bunch of different experiments too, and kind of pioneered this idea of discovery learning. Montessori schools and other schools came up in the 70s as a result of cognitivism, where they said, we need to play more, we need to do more exploring, especially at the younger ages where our brains aren't fully developed and we're learning different things. And so that's cognitivism. Let's move ahead now to constructivism. This is the idea that we learn socially, that we can construct knowledge together. And in my face-to-face class, what I did is I had students go through these 4 different theories and then explain them to one another. And as they talked in groups, they learned that their definitions were slightly different, but they came up with a shared definition. And so knowledge is often dependent on the context and the situation in which we learn. And so Vygotsky pioneered this idea that knowledge can be socially constructed, and that we should learn together. He talked about the zone of proximal development, where you would have a more expert learner and more novice learner, and the expert would coach or support the more novice in learning. And it's really important then that we have teachers and that we have coaches. And of course, this can also happen in peer groups, that peers that might be more knowledgeable can help their friends. And so that is constructivism. And finally, we have humanism, and this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where, and if we look at this pyramid down here at the bottom, food, water, warmth, and rest, and we know this from being in class, like if it's too cold, it's hard to concentrate and to learn. If you need to go to the bathroom, it's hard to concentrate and to learn. If you're hungry, if you haven't eaten for a long time, it's hard to concentrate and to learn. And so we need to take care of those basic needs first. We need to help our students feel safe by creating an environment where they feel like they can ask questions and where it's okay to have different opinions. It's okay to fail. From there, we want to further relationships, and then eventually it will come into helping students reach their full potential. Now, This theory of learning focuses on the whole learner. And so it's more individualized, and we'd have to customize instruction for each individual student, which of course is very, very difficult. But it, that's Maslow, as he created this hierarchy of needs. It makes sense that we start with the base needs first and then move up into the things where in self-actualization, that's where students believe they can reach their full potential and they can be more creative and engage in that discovery learning that Piaget talked about. So those are our four main theories. Read the article, review them, be very familiar with them because this will continue to come up. For those of you who are in the online section, there is a reading reflection associated with that. So you do need to actually go through and answer those in the reading reflection. That will be a graded quiz. For you face-to-face that may have just missed class or are reviewing, I've set up a similar discussion board that talks about the learning theories, and you can get on and answer the questions there. So that's it. Have a great day. Bye-bye. And I always say goodbye, and then I have to find the way to stop recording so you get these last few seconds of me awkwardly finding the right button. All right, bye for reals now.